What's going down, my YTG? What's goody? Welcome back to the channel. If you new, what's good to you too? We're about to hop into this video that I saw come across my YouTube algorithm, and it's kind of weird that the algorithm is actually accurate right now. It's actually sending me shit that I've wanted to talk about, and I was thinking of doing videos myself. So you might have seen my Angel Reese video. If you didn't see that one, go check that one out. This kind of falls in line with the same thing I've been saying about this particular player, about Jayson Tatum. So I saw this come across my timeline. I started watching the first couple minutes of it just to see what it was about. And because it was heading in the same direction that I actually wanted to do a video on regarding Jayson Tatum, I was just like, okay, let me save this one and do a reaction to it, because it's on the same path as what I've been saying about Jayson Tatum for years. I just never did a video on it. And two of the things I've been saying about Tatum's game, as a Celtics fan, I understand how many times I caught flack for saying this as a Celtics fan. I said, one, Tatum doesn't like attacking the hoop head on, right? A lot of Celtics fans agree with me on that part. Like, they can see that shit themselves. But one of the other things, the second thing I get probably the most flack for from Celtics fans and NBA fans alike, is when I say that Jayson Tatum can't dribble. Because then you just get people bringing up his PPG, his accolades, his all-star, his championship. And I'm just like, that's great, but he can't dribble. And I think people lose sight of the fact that you can be a great NBA player. You can be a great WNBA player. But the whole point of my channel is, as I said in the Angel Reese video, is to highlight these players, highlight these teams, and show that if they were to take the elementary habits out of their game, some of the things that should have been cut out in elementary school, if they were to take out some of these elementary habits, what would that player or what would that team look like now? You get what I'm saying? So I think this video is on the right track to do the same thing. It's about to tackle what I've been saying about Tatum for how long?
Jayson Tatum is one of the most well-rounded players in the league, but he's got a problem. Over this postseason, some people went by the numbers and said that he's not a first All-NBA team player, but others have smartly pointed out that he impacts the game in many other areas. So I decided to go back and see which side I leaned on, and as I was watching Game 2 of the NBA Finals, I noticed something kind of surprising. Take a look.
Celtics looking to take a 2-0 lead. Tatum shut off by Doncic, tries again. Tatum to the rim, shot block. Exceptional. Tatum goes inside, can't get it to fall, too strong off the glass. Flexion and get a steal. Tatum gets around Doncic's layup, no, too strong off the glass, and Doncic comes the other way.
So he had a hard time making driving layups. Now I thought, okay, some of these are kind of tough, but something felt off. So I went back and looked at all of his driving layups in the playoffs to see if this was a fluke, and what I found was pretty appalling.
Not no fluke.
This is a chart of the best NBA players' driving layup success in the playoffs over the past 10 years, or more importantly, guys with the ball in their hands a lot. We have the driving layup success rate on the x-axis and layup attempts on the y-axis. Okay. But here's where Tatum has ranked throughout his career. Not one of the better finishers, but has shown some improvement, especially over the last 2 years. Here's the thing though, in 2024, Tatum shot around 54% on driving layups, which is not bad, but there's still a lot of room for improvement. And it's not like he's just taking a few of these. When you take all of his shots at the rim, 66% of them are from driving layups. Makes sense, considering that he has the ball in his hands a lot, so he's going to drive downhill a lot. But this is with the best spacing he will probably ever have, along with one of the easier postseason schedules ever. So it led me down to two different questions. First, why can't Tatum make more layups? Are teams doing something to him, or is it his own downfall? And two, when has he had more success at the rim? When you watch the film, you see something that may sound weird, but has been a constant throughout his career. Teams are looking to force Tatum downhill because they're hoping that he's going to make life harder on himself.
Which he does.
One of the first things that you might notice as you're watching these clips is that he tends to go off 1 foot a lot. And when he does that, the biggest problem that I see is he's always having to adjust his body because he's typically getting airborne. And because he's the best player, opposing teams are always going to send help defense, especially when it's at the rim. And so what happens is he gets by that first guy, but then he's having trouble getting by that second defender. When he's trying to get around that second help defender, his body's moving away from the basket, even though he's trying to lay it up. Like here, when Tatum's on the baseline, and after he beats Lively, now Josh Green's coming to help. And as he Euro steps around him, he's on the nearest side of the rim. But as you play this clip further, look at where he ends up. He ends up almost on the opposite side of the basket, and now he has to try to lay it back to his left because he's flailing away. So when he's moving his body like that, he can't take advantage of good opportunities. Here, we got Luka as the primary help defender in the paint, but as he drives, he gets by him, but his body's going to his right, and now he's trying to throw it up like a hook shot. So I understand that some of these shots are a little more difficult, but he's also missing these shots when he has open space. Here, he spins baseline against Caleb Martin, and then at this point, it looks like he has a wide open baseline
That should be a dunk.
He turns back towards the middle, and now he can't finish that. Tatum had talked about how he was always seeing 2 to 3 guys at the rim, and right now, it feels like his focus is to evade each defender, but once he's done that, the next question is, how can he put himself in a good position towards the basket? And you might find it surprising that this issue is actually nothing new for
Here's
him.
the Kobe clip.
Because back in 2018, his boy Kobe, when he was doing those detail episodes, he pointed this out about Tatum. His problem back in 2018 was that when he tried to drive towards the basket, his foot was pointing to the opposite direction of the rim. So he was having trouble being his defender, even if he was already in a good position. And I think nothing explains this better than at the end of game 2. Tatum brings the ball up and he beats Derrick Jones. And he looks like he's got a wide open lane. But as he goes up, his body's starting to move out of bounds. So when he goes up, he's got to adjust his body back towards the rim and he can't get high enough to finish it. And here's the thing. If he's going to continue going off one foot, he needs to learn how to direct his body to the basket, or he needs to figure out how to get in more one-on-one situations in the paint. When teams know that he's going off one foot most of the time, they can better anticipate when to come help. So even if he gets the matchup that he wants, the help defenders could cover for him. And if they could time it up right, Tatum's not going to have enough time to get the ball out to another player. So as good as he's been at getting the ball out to the right player, he's not making his money by passing. So at times in the finals, we saw him really looking for a shot, even if he probably should have gotten rid of the ball. The other main concern that I have is that he starts really far from the basket. And here's why this is a problem. Because by the time Tatum's at the basket, his momentum is starting to go down instead of going up. So he's missing out on good opportunities even more. So we have a really good setup here. We got Derek Lively out on the perimeter, and we have Luka and Kyrie in the paint. So they would have to be the help defenders. But watch what happens. So as Tatum drives past Lively, look at where he starts his layup. His foot is almost at that lower dotted circle. And as he's trying to extend his arm all the way up, his body is starting to come down. And that's not how you usually shoot a layup. Here's another one where
I need another example.
And this time there's no resistance, but the same exact
Yeah, you're
result.
taking off too early.
So here's the thing.
Okay, let me pause it right there, because as you can see, he's bringing up, I guess his name is Daniel. Daniel's bringing up the fact that Tatum takes off too early, right? And then also that he's pushing his body away from the hoop. Instead of towards the hoop, he's pushing his body away from the hoop. That basically, that falls in with the two things I've been saying about Tatum. A lot of the time, his dribble, Tatum plays like the person on 2K who doesn't know how to use L2 to their dribble advantage. You get what I'm saying? It's always like when you watch Tatum, as probably all of y'all do, not saying y'all fans, but you always notice, and especially Celtics fans, you always notice the little size up package, turn, dribble, drop, half spin, right? Then when he comes out of that, he's just off balance, leaning towards whatever layup. So a lot of this, I think, his takeoff, a lot of that comes back to his dribble and the fact that he's not on balance a lot of the time to take that stabilizing dribble when he's in the paint. So now whether he's leaning or not, leaning any which way, he can take the stabilizing dribble, get himself back on balance, then decide what finish he's going to do, right? So that's the first thing. He is picking up the ball a little too early, but again, that goes back to his dribbling. And I think how comfortable he is in the fact that he's off balance a lot of the time before he even gets close to the hoop. You get what I'm saying? So his dribble is not leaving him in a position where he can be on balance towards attacking the hoop. Now, to his point, when he attacks the hoop, he goes away from the hoop. When he attacks a basket, his body and his momentum is going away from the hoop instead of towards it. That is Tatum's worst habit. To me, I think that's Tatum's elementary habit. Because Tatum, a lot of the time, he's scooping, he wants to go away. Not that he's running from contact, but he wants to go away from the hoop at an angle to finish instead of going through players, instead of going over players, instead of attacking the hoop head on. He would rather go away at an angle, scoop, and we all see that Tatum likes scooping the ball, whether he likes cuff dunking the ball, he likes scooping the layups. Tatum doesn't like attacking the hoop head on. So when you combine this dribble that doesn't leave him off balance with the fact that most of the time he's running away from attacking the hoop head on, that's the result you get. You get what I'm saying? My dunkers understand this. So like quick example. A lot of dunkers, when we're just starting off learning how to dunk, we don't try to dunk from the corner of the sideline of the basketball court, right? We don't try to dunk from top of the key and run down and try to boost our way up and dunk. Most of the time, the majority of the time, we're dunking from the wing. Why? Because we're trying to get our hand above the shortest part of the hoop, right? If you're going to dunk from head on, you're going to have to be able to get your whole forearm above the hoop. We're not doing that. We're just learning how to dunk, so we're going to dunk from the wing and go over the shortest part of the hoop with our hand. Tatum has not eliminated that habit. He hasn't eliminated the habit. He has the beginner dunk package where he wants to attack everything at an angle, right? So that's what I think results in Tatum doing stuff like this. Long pause, but I just had to get that out.
Teams know that Tatum tends to start a little bit further away. They're going to try to take advantage of that. And so what they try to do, and Miami does a pretty good job of this actually, is they have helped defenders come jab at him so that he picks his dribble up early. And now that forces him into two positions that a defense wants him in. One, it either means he can't get airborne, so now he has to play with 2 feet. That's why you see the fadeaway at times. Or two, now he's picking up the ball early, and he has to start his drive further out than he might actually want to. Clear example here. So Ben Shepherd's in the driving gap, and he jabs, so Tatum picks the ball up, and now he has to try a really, really tough layup. So why does this all
That's
even
good
matter?
defense, though.
To me, this means one big thing. Jayson Tatum is great at getting the advantages that he wants. He's great at getting past that first guy, which creates the reaction that Boston wants. But the problem is, what are we doing once we get that advantage? How are we making sure that we're scoring on these? Before people come at me for saying that it doesn't matter because he won the title, hear me out real quick. Boston's front office has done everything they can to give Tatum as much space as possible to ball out. And the postseason schedule he had this year was lined up perfectly.
He about to talk
for him
that
to
shit.
He
about to talk that shit.
He had one of his least efficient postseasons of his career.
Yep.
And I think what we learned is that no matter how well everyone on Boston could shoot, defenses are going to sell out to Tatum at the rim. So it's just not going to get easier for him.
There you go.
So then it begs the question. When does Tatum actually have success at the rim? Now, when I mentioned some of these...
Hold on, I just want to pause and say that's a great point because this is exactly what basketball fans do. This is what a lot of NBA fans do. He just won the chip. He just won. So whatever he's doing is working. But we're looking at it from the perspective of if he were to stop or eliminate some of these weaknesses, right? Turn some of these weaknesses into strength. What would that team look like? What would that player look like? Right? It's not just all about, he won. A lot of people keep thinking that they can't learn from wins as much as they can learn from losses. Sometimes you can learn from wins more than you can learn from losses, which is why everyone got their NBA Finals matchup predicted blasted by the Celtics because everyone had Dallas in 6 because Dallas was winning and they were looking good while winning, but you forgot to analyze their wins. You thought they were winning, so everything was cool. All right. So that's a really good point that he makes. I got to stop pausing it, but that's a really good point that he makes. Let's keep going.
Things you're going to think I'm a little hypocritical because it's similar to the things that I've knocked him for. But the main thing I want to point out is that he needs to be doing some of these things more. Let's start with the spacing. When Tatum has good spacing and teams are playing a one-on-one, there's almost no chance that they're going to stop him. So that's why they're always bringing two guys in the first place. It's not only because it bothers him, but it's because they have to. But there's one crucial factor. He's had way more success when the big man's out at the three-point line and not near the rim. What I think Boston needs to do in the future is to try to design more plays that help Tatum have the paint open with no big man. Because when someone small like Tyrese Halliburton is trying to contest a Tatum dunk, that's just not going to happen. And what I think Tatum needs to do is to try to be more diligent about keeping certain dudes away from the paint. If he gets to mess with the big man's timing of coming to help on him, that's when he's seeking gold. You see here, he's got TJ McConnell on him, and as he's driving, you're gonna see that same exact move that he couldn't finish on Maxi Kleber earlier. So why is that? First off, Miles Turner's a little too late. But when he's too late, now when he gets around him, look at how much closer he is to the rim. Much more under control and into the paint. We had talked a little bit about how teams can pick up on a certain rhythm when they know he's going airborne, but Tatum can disrupt that. And one of the ways he's disrupted that is with the half spin. When you half spin, that makes a help defender think for a split second that they don't need to come help.
Please don't show me
that
this.
gives Tatum the one-on-one that he wants, and
I promise you, the majority of the time that
this
shit don't
one's
work.
my favorite. So as he's driving on Doug McDermott, he recognizes that Siakam is coming. So he slows down to get Siakam out of the paint. And now, once Siakam's out, bam,
I promise you, he
now
does
can
not
attack.
do that shit on purpose.
Sometimes a dribble move will help, but the main thing is trying not to play at one speed all the time. The other thing that I wish that he does a little bit more, actually, is when he's playing with his build. Because Tatum has gotten a lot of strength over the past
Watch how he
few
dunks
years.
this.
The reality is, when he's getting a switch, especially a smaller dude on him, he is much more under control when he's trying to go through the guy instead of trying to go around.
Yep.
First off, he's not getting airborne, so he can adjust himself a lot better. And two, a lot of dudes just aren't as strong as Tatum. I think when he's making simple plays like that, now all of his momentum is always going towards the rim. So for guys that are defending him, what they're really defending is that pull-up three. Because that's when Tatum's the most deadly, is when he's making that. When they're inviting him to essentially get to the rim, now Tatum's going to get that initial speed burst, and then they have to deal with the strength aspect. It becomes way harder to guard all of that. So to just put things in perspective, it's not like Tatum is completely horrendous at driving layups, but I definitely think that it's one of the last parts of his game that he really needs to hone in.
That's facts.
Yes, he won the championship this year, and he was still by far one of their two best players. But Boston has fully gone in on this team for the next few years, so any major improvement is going to have to come internally.
From the players
For
themselves.
Boston to continue to stay ahead of the
Daniel.
pack, Jayson Tatum is going to have to
Absolutely.
learn how to be more tactical and creative around the rim. Because for the first time, everyone has their target on the Celtics, and specifically Jayson Tatum, and teams are building their rosters to target him. So while Jayson Tatum is one of the most well-rounded players in the league, his inability to finish at the rim is preventing him from taking that next leap, and I believe would be one of the few factors that would stop Boston from winning multiple championships. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If so, feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
That was a great video. That was a perfect video. That's exactly what I've been saying. I'm so glad he covers the point of, again, looking past the wins, look past the success. Sometimes we also didn't load up our bigs, because I promise you, if we see the Minnesota Timberwolves or the Nuggets again, I don't know how we're going to compete with that team, because they are still a matchup problem for us. I wanted us to get a couple more bigs, but we didn't. But again, if you're going to run the shit back, Tim Grover, Michael Jordan's trainer, spoke about this as well. If you're trying to run the shit back, it doesn't matter what you do. If you have the same team, if you have a different team, you have to get better. The championship team cannot stay the same. So even though you're bringing back everybody, the team itself cannot stay the same. Something has to improve. It doesn't have to be a 5% improvement or a 10% improvement, but it better be a 0.005% improvement. Something has to improve in order for you to actually win that championship again. And most of the time, when teams do run it back, when they do bring their players back, that means the players themselves have to get better. That was the best point this man could have made. I don't have really anything else to say about that other than, like, I think that's Tatum's elementary habit. And I also think Tatum really has a horizontal dribble. Like a lot of the time, when you saw him in the final game, game 5 of the finals, when he was attacking and he was going vertical, a lot of the time Tatum's dribble is more horizontal. Everything leads to a sidestep or a step back, right? He has a really horizontal dribble. People like Kyrie, Paul George, they're always threatening. Their dribble is always threatening James Harden. Their dribble is always threatening to go forward, right? Tatum, most of the time, doesn't have a threatening vertical dribble, if you will. So a lot of the time, it results in the sidestep 3 because a lot of it is just horizontal shit. You're just moving players on the x-axis, right? Instead of moving them on the y-axis. So I think Tatum, if Tatum can get a vertical dribble package, if he can improve on attacking the hoop head on, we'll be okay this season. All right. But that's going to do it for this video. Appreciate y'all tuning in. I know it's kind of lengthy, but let me know what you all think about it in the comment section. I'm out of here. Take care of yourself. Stay safe. Stay blessed. Peace.